Thank you for joining the third Foodpreneurs Collective UAE webinar series. And today's edition is the Foodpreneurs Collective CPG Sales webinar, Navigating Uncertain Times in the Region. I'd like to start by saying a huge thank you to the UAE government for keeping us all safe here. I'm still here in Dubai, even though this is the first time I've ever experienced anything like this. Community solidarity and supporting each other are so important in times like this, which is why Jamal, Ahmed and I wanted to organise this free webinar. Before we get started, this is a safe space to discuss CPG sales challenges in the industry during these uncertain times. No politics allowed on this call. If anyone posts anything inappropriate, their comments will be deleted and they'll be removed from the call. If you comment in the chat or ask questions, please be mindful about what you write. Right. Following the success of our first 20 events in the UAE, we're pleased to confirm today's webinar to support the CPG startup community, focusing on sales. This is the third one, as I said, in this series. The last one, which was hospitality focus, was last week. Today, we're particularly keen to connect with CPG sales entrepreneurs, operators, investors, and industry professionals. Just a bit about myself. I've got over 15 years experience in food and beverage marketing from corporates like PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, and AB World Foods, followed by over 10 years consulting on marketing strategy whilst co-hosting startup pitch events as lead ambassador for Food Hack Dubai, Forward Fooding ambassador, and obviously running the Foodpreneurs Collective, which is a community to support food and beverage startups and SMEs. And I'm also a Free From Foods Expo ambassador. You can connect with me for Dubai food and beverage networking, market access, and channel partners. Now on to my co-host for today, Jamal Maxi. He's head of events at Pitch Lounge, ex-mentor at Techstars Saudi, Ignites UAE, and LBS VC graduate. He's coached over 600 food and ag tech startups. He's based Berlin, Dubai-based event strategist, connecting UAE food and beverage founders to investors, partners via Pitch Lounge pitch events. He's open for UAE and Germany bridge building, event marketing, and startup ecosystem roles to build upon his existing market entry, advisory service, pitch coaching, and investor intros, which he offers to global startups. Now on to our network. If you want to connect with us, so Jamal has a Pitch Lounge newsletter which you can subscribe to. I think we'll share the details in the chat. We've got a range of other ways that you can also keep in contact with us. We have our LinkedIn company pages, so either for Pitch Lounge or Foodpreneurs Collective, and we have all our community groups. So I've got our WhatsApp group if anyone's interested in joining that, and we have LinkedIn groups as well to support this wider community. And then also we have a YouTube channel. So this recording and all our previous ones, if everyone missed them, you can find on our YouTube channel. So there's lots of ways to keep in contact with us and keep connected. So just on to today, before we get started, I'll just give the agenda. So I'm just going to do some intros in a minute to the panel. Then we'll have the panel discussion. Then we'll have an audience Q&A, so anyone in the audience can ask any questions. And then afterwards, Jamal's going to give an update on future Pitch Lounge events and other offerings. So first up, I'd like to introduce our panelists today. So first I've got Ahmed El Masri, Retail and Distribution Manager at Barakat, FMCG and fresh food specialist driving growth across retail and hospitality channels in the UAE. Then we have Ahmed Shamia, General Partner of Homegrown Ventures, co-founder and partner of Hilal Full, over 20 years experience in FMCG and big tech. He's ex-Microsoft, Danone and Kraft, now backing and scaling the next generation of consumer brands across the MENA region. He's also a partner with us on any of our CPG events, both these ones online at the moment, but previously up until now in person. So a big thank you to the Homegrown Ventures team for that. Then we have Alix Marie-Julien de Zerico, General Manager of Talabat Mart, quick commerce leader, driving on-demand grocery growth across MENA. And then we have Mahmoud Adam, angel investor, co-founder of 10 Times Scale-Ups, board member of VAB, exited founder of Munchbox, ex-P&G and Mars leader, and managed projects with over $300 million. So a little bit more about each of them. So Ahmed El Masri, he's a senior commercial leader at Barakat, one of the region's leading fresh fruit and juice brands, driving growth across retail and hospitality channels, has extensive experience in FMCG and fresh food distribution, with a strong focus on category expansion, partnerships, and market penetration in the UAE. He plays a key role in scaling premium, health-focused food concepts, aligning consumer trends with operational excellence in a competitive food and beverage landscape. So you can find his details in the chat now. Next up, Ahmed Shamia. He's got over 20 years of multinational experience across FMCG or CPG and big tech, with leadership roles at Kraft, Nokia, Microsoft, and Danone, including country manager for Algeria. He co-founded and partnered Hilalful, building and scaling a culturally rooted home lifestyle brand. He's general partner at Homegrown Ventures, backing and growing the next generation of CPG or FMCG brands across the region. He combines corporate, operational, and entrepreneurial expertise to support high-growth consumer brands from launch to scale. And you can find his details in the chat. Next up, we have Alix Marie-Julienne de Zelicourt. She's a general manager at Talabat, the Talabat Mart, leading one of the region's fastest scaling quick commerce grocery platforms that's here in the UAE, driving growth at the intersection of food, grocery, and last mile delivery, shaping consumer behavior in a rapidly evolving on-demand economy. At the forefront of quick commerce innovation in MENA, leveraging data, operations, and customer insight to scale convenience-led retail across multiple markets. And you can find further details in the chat about her and connect. And then finally, Mahmoud Adham. He's over 25 years of leadership across FMCG and food tech, including Procter & Gamble and Mars, where he led, as I mentioned earlier, over capital projects of over $300 million across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. He's an ex-founder and CEO of Munchbox, scaling a pioneering healthy food tech brand into a regional leader, achieving multiple revenue inflection points before acquisition. He's an angel investor, board member of the Virtual Advisory Board, and co-founder of 10 Times Scale-Ups, backing and scaling high-growth consumer and food brands. He's focused on business transformation and profitably led growth, advising startups and corporates on scaling with operational discipline and commercial excellence. And again, we'll just share the details in the chat. So thank you so much for all of them for coming today. And we will start the panel discussion now. So my first question is, which sales channels are most impacted at the moment, and where should you be focusing your sales? I'd like to start with, let's have a look. Mahmoud, would you like to go first?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for making me the first respondent. So, according to what we've seen from the clients that we work with in 10x Scale-Ups, the number one impacted channel is Horeca, predominantly because of the hotels. So companies that are supplying nuts, meat, dairy, whatever staples to hotels have had a serious hit. The channels which we've seen, or we would like to advise any brand to focus on is, and this lands straight in your court, Alex, is Q-commerce and the online channels. This, from what we've seen, is the one with the least impact. The reason for which I can only guess, which is people are staying at home more, ordering from home more. Tourists don't really affect these channels because it's predominantly residents who have them installed on their phones. This is my educated guess as to why this is happening. But in summary, this is the worst channel, Horeca, and the best one is Q-commerce like Talabat and Noon.
Thank you, Ahmed. Yeah, I'll ask Ahmed Shamia next, and then we'll go into the more like specifics, the people that run the more specific channels. So, Ahmed, what are your thoughts? Oh, I can't hear you, Ahmed.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone, and thank you for the start, Mahmoud. It's always good to have you going first. So, on this point, I think Mahmoud touched base on the right approach, right? So, we can see based on the logic that we have in terms of consumer behavior, people in UAE and the region, I think people tend to go less to hotels, or restaurants stay more at home, schools are being managed remotely. So based on all these dynamics, we can see that yes, HoReCa is the most impacted, and hotels is leading that. Then the most kind of impacted positively and driving the growth and the volume is the online channels, spearheaded by the quick commerce, right? So we're getting now more and more hooked into that, and we can see here synergies with what happened during the COVID times, which was kind of like somehow similar consumer behavior, right? Spending more time at home, ordering more online, and we can see that's driving more the volume on the online basis and less on the HoReCa channel. However, in between, you have a full variation of modern trade, traditional trade, community centers, and all of that, that that goes through the spectrum and are maybe not as impacted, depending where they are and how they are serving different communities.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Thank you. Right. Masri, I'm going to call you Masri so we can differentiate between the two of you, and I'm not having to say everyone's full name each time. Have you got some additional points to add on your particular expertise?
Yeah, so all what I can say here is that, yes, demand did not disappear, it just shifted. I would say that the first 2 weeks where also you had tourists still in the country waiting for the flight to come and leave. I do retail and e-com. I would say that my daily average did not change, but it shifted from retail to e-com. So people started to shift their demand from retail to e-com. I would say that fine dining was the most impacted, but QSRs, which is the quick service restaurants like Americana, during this period of 4 weeks, they had one of their highest revenue ever. They hit revenue numbers because people went from fine dining to more affordable, I would say, meals. This is one. Second, e-com right now is a reality where it is not a channel that you want to be in. It is the channel that you want to be there, because I would say knowing the export depends on the product that you're selling, but it will definitely right now it is between 20 to 50% of the business in UAE of any brand. And the more impulsive is the product, let's say, the more that it is less reliable on e-com, but the more of that the brand is, let's say, more planned purchase, e-com is becoming more important for that brand.
Great, thank you. And then Alex.
So look, I don't know if we are the winners of all of this. I think the trend of shifting from proper retail to online started a long time ago, and as Masri was underlining, COVID was certainly the big boost, and then we see this shift growing months on months. However, over the last 4 weeks, when we look at the data on the market, it's clear that people shifted online. But it's not a super linear trend. I think, we had days where, due to maybe some panic or some alerts, we had some spikes, and some days that were completely back to normal. So it's not 100% full months. I think it's a bit on and off. And also the consumption patterns, at the very beginning, we were expecting kind of safety stocks for people to build. But actually, I would say for us at Talabat, I saw the quantity definitely increase, but a bit all across the board. I think people were not like panicking, not buying cans, or, French people in COVID were buying toilet paper. We didn't see much of that. We saw just the basket increasing because people were just preparing themselves. And we'll see now over the course of the week and maybe the weekend if and how those patterns change. And the challenge for us now is to retain those customers, and I hope that they don't all fully go back, in the brick and mortar business, because they have found additional convenience while shopping at Talabat or the others.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you. That's really interesting. Right, on to my next question. I'm sure we'll have some more questions about that from the audience at the end. How are you best to engage with distributors and retailers at the moment? So what priorities should you be focusing on? Maybe Ahmed Shami, I'll come to you first on that one.
Yeah, so this is very relevant question, especially for brands that are working with distributors across the region and in UAE. If you look at the situation, there is a high level of unpredictability, right? So this week was a great week. We have a ceasefire in the region. Things are moving again. Ships are on the go. However, if you think about distributors who are usually tend to be importers, there is a bit uncertainty, unclarity on the whole supply chain. When I'm going to receive my container, when I'm going to receive my stocks, how long the stocks is going to last. So it's kind of like an urgency management for the business and operation. So keep that in mind that yes, there's an urgency for your brand, but there's an urgency for the distributor as well. Hence, when you engage with your distributor, make sure you're very clear. What are the key top priorities you want to engage on and focus on? And in this time and period, it's important that you pick your battle, pick your focus areas. So, for example, if you are carrying a brand that has 50 SKUs or 100 SKUs, it's not kind of like recommended to go and engage on every single SKU. To pick your top 10 priority SKUs that are must have for your portfolio. Those are the ones that you need to ensure they are available on the right channels, right? So we talked about, hey, the channel performance are now shifting. Should be more priority for the channels that are continue to sell and rotate your product, because now it's all about ensuring that you are available for the consumer where he needs you. And that availability is for the channels that are rotating within this uncertain times. So we need to make sure that those are my top key products that are available. We need to make sure they are existing within the channels where the product is rotating. And we are having this engagement with the distributor to enable that availability. Then you have the whole stock level, like how much stock I have, how long it's going to last for. So you need to have to run that exercise to know how to manage that availability and where to accelerate and push the logistics team to get you that key SKUs in market in time. The last dimension I would like to talk about as well is the margin structure. So I think there's kind of like an inflation and cost pressure happening globally due to the supply chain pressure, due to the oil pressure, and the prices climbing up, which means that the transportation went up, and the cost of goods is going up. So it's important to protect your margins, and now we need to switch gears, right? So usually we think about growth. Now it's all about making sure that we are running through the year and we're exiting the year with somehow healthy balance sheet and healthy P&L, which means that, hey, you may need to have a price increase, you need to lower your cost. That's a discussion and exercise you need to be able to run with your distributors and retailers as well.
Great, thank you, Ahmed. Masri, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so basically it's all about, I would say, transparency and communication. So from day one, we were very clear with our partners what we will be able to deliver, since we're working fresh and you only have stock for a couple of days of fresh products. So one, I would say, is transparency. So we were sending bulletins every other day on what issues you will be facing in terms of products and what are the options that we are also offering. Second is stay very close to the government announcements and updates. So, for example, for the past few days, there is a circular right now from the government stating what is allowed to in terms of price increase and how you have to do it. So, as per yesterday's meeting, out of the 27, there is a list of 29 SKUs, where 29 categories, where 7 you have to get a prior approval before increasing the price, and you can do it only once every 6 months. Where the other categories, you can do the price increase, but you just need an FYI process where you upload your pricing, you upload the details on why you're doing it, and accordingly you can go to retail. This is key, where you can take this announcement, sit with your partners in terms of distributors and retailers, and tell them, this is the new announcement, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do, and accordingly you need to educate them. because so far some retailers, they're still working in the old book saying you need to get a written approval from the ministry. But as per the new announcement, you don't need that. Only unless your product is within those 7 categories.
Great. Thank you, Matthew. That's really good to inform people because I'm not sure if everyone's aware of that. Okay, Alex, have you got anything to add to this?
Look, I think fully in line with the discussion on the pricing, on the availability, we're exactly looking at this at the moment. I think a question we ask ourselves at the very beginning, so 40 days ago, is usually as a retailer, online retail, we split our assortment into A, B, and C lines. The A lines being your fast moving that you need to have all the time, and B and C lines less so. And we had several scenarios. One of them was, what if we run out of A lines? What if Mastery tomorrow cannot provide me with fresh juices? It means my consumer will go to the B and C lines, and it means I have to stock my B and C lines because they will become A lines in my assortment. And this juggling with this fine line while mitigating the number of days of stock on hand, maximizing availability of A lines, investing in transportation, multiplying also the number of suppliers because you want to diversify, you want to hedge your risk. So this has been a bit of a fast adjustment that my teams had to do to make sure that as a consumer, if you log onto Tmart, you will always find, I don't know, eggs or pasta or sauce, whatever. It's just we needed to really go big onto making sure we had both the stock and a big number of partners to help us sustain the demand. So that was a bit new to us. We tend to have, those partnerships for a long time, but this time we had to hedge ourselves as well.
That's a really interesting point. Thank you about that. Mahmoud, have you got anything else to add?
Yeah, I think the team has covered most of the bases. Just a point here to think about for brands that have many SKUs in the market when they're talking to the distributor. They need to be quite strategic on their promotion calendar and what to push and what not during these times. So when you have a long-standing relationship with a distributor, there is a certain commitment on a promotions and discounts calendar throughout the year. This needs to be re-looked at considering the current situation and to try as much as possible to reduce these commitments during these uncertain times. And if there are already cemented commitments, then I would highly advise to shuffle them between the SKUs which are easily supplied. Hopefully, if they're locally supplied, then that makes the situation much easier. So those are the ones that we would push to gain market share during these times. And the SKUs which are more difficult to maintain the out of stocks for, I would cut the promotions, I would cut any advertising on them, I would cut any spending on those and channel the spending and the consumers towards my more sustainable, easily supplyable SKUs, not to affect the promotion calendar with the retailer.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And actually, it was my next question. So I might open that up a bit further to the rest of the panel as well. So my question was going to be like, how do you approach like sales activation, marketing plans and activation budgets? So maybe Masri, you can answer that one from your perspective.
So basically, from terms of marketing strategy, is that we shifted our investments to where is the consumer going. So instead of investing in retail, we noticed that the shifting to online. This is where I want to be. Okay, so this is where we have done that shifting, and definitely, just like Mahmoud said, we started rationalizing which subcategories we want to still defend in terms of a strategic position, and which ones that, maybe it's not the right time right now to build on. Just stay safe, as they say, and have a look what's happening in terms of category dynamics. And accordingly, once we finish these 4 weeks, we revised actually what actions have we done. And accordingly, also, we have done another plan in the month of April, based on the learnings that came out from March.
That's very good. Okay, thank you. Alex?
For us, look, there were several sources of complexity. One is that we usually tend to have a trade and marketing activation plan that is prepared, quarter ahead, sometimes even a year ahead. And obviously we had to change all of this, and so did our suppliers. I think we had to be super agile for once. I think we are usually, but this time was completely different. And sometimes it's about making bets, which as a business owner or manager, it's not something that you like to do, but the consumers here are shopping across multiple apps and they are really deal chasers, right? So it's about how you position yourself, which categories you promote, what's the depth of the discount. And obviously, in a market of scarcity, you can't go big on key items. And so every day, literally every day, I sit with my team and we're trying to find a balance between breadth and depth of promotions, even more than before. And also asking ourselves, it's cool to announce, minus 80% on a flash sale, but do you want to discount a water pump? Do you want to discount, sponges? Everyone can do that, but consumers know what they're looking for. And on quick commerce, you have to have those deals that are attractive. You have to have key SKUs that, are kind of basket starters or nice top-ups. And this is an everyday exercise now. All of us probably have so many ships waiting, around the country to be offloaded. And we're making bets as to when we're going to have the goods, if we're going to have them, and finding additional sources of supply. It's a challenging but also quite fascinating exercise, because I look at my competition every day and I'm like, oh my God, they managed to actually do that. How can we push ourselves even further to get this SKU or this deal? So we try and take it, on the lighter side and push ourselves as a team to be still promo driven, because that's eventually what the consumers want, crisis or no crisis.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you. That's a really interesting insight. And then finally on to Ahmad.
Yeah, no, I think a lot has been shared on this, and I would like to put a bit of view from brand perspective and from companies, SMEs, or different brands that are running in the market. In this type of times where things are tough and the revenue is impacted and you can see a bit of instability in terms of what to expect from revenue stream, it's super important to look at your P&L, right? So that what will give you runway and what will give you a longer lifeline for your brand and your company. So when you look at the marketing budget, how it's impacting your whole profitability and P&L lines, you have to make sure that it's aligned to the decisions you're going to make. In these times, we ask the brands to be precise, not to be loud, to focus more on trade activation, not brand building, right? So now, as you mentioned, we know that few channels are driving the sales, those are consistent. We activate there. We don't go and activate what used to bring me profit and now is being impacted. No, we focus on where the consumer is going, where the channels are moving my products. That's where I go and activate. And when I activate more trade rather than brand building, which will help me rotate and push volume on the SKUs that I'm confident and comfortable I have stocks from. Right? So don't go and activate across the portfolio knowing that you're going to run out of stock on some SKUs. No, pick the ones that you're confident I have enough stocks. Pick the channels that I'm confident it's moving my product in this time and the consumer is going there to make their purchases. And finally, allocate budget that works with your whole P&L dynamic within this time. So it's very important for the CEO or the founder to be looking at all these areas to make sure that he is activating and navigating his way through.
Great, thank you. Some really good tips there. Thank you so much. Right, next on to my next question. We have sort of touched on this, but I think maybe we'll sort of widen the discussion a bit further on to go into more depth on this. So in terms of availability versus range, how do you stay on shelf when your supply is inconsistent? I'm particularly talking like retail and things here. Maybe Mahmoud, you can start first on this one.
So how do you stay available on shelf with the supply challenges? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, so the first thing would be to take a good hard look at the supply forecast. So realistically, when will I have how many units of each SKU, take into account all of the factors that we're struggling with now. Secondly, I would work with my supply chain team to look at alternative ways of securing this supply. So I would do option analysis on shipment by plane, shipment by land from, for example, if I'm a distributor from another distributor in Saudi that's carrying the same brand. So I would look at contingency plans of how to maintain my supply. And during this time, it is more, at least this is in my experience, it is more important to maintain your presence on the shelf than to protect your profitability during these few weeks. Because what if the consumer flips to a competitor that is available on the shelf and tries it and ends up liking that competing brand, it will cost the brand much more to bring the consumer back to loyalty to the fold, basically. So I would look at contingency plans. I would look at how I can fulfill the supply, and then I would, once I know a very clear roadmap of what SKUs will be available when in my warehouse, taking into consideration all of these backup plans, I would sit with the marketing team, and as Ahmed said, I would look into what SKUs do I want to push because the supply of which is consistent, and what SKUs do I want to tone down my spending on so that I don't run out on the shelf. The bottom line I want to say here, which is something that I've seen with Munchbox in the 11-year journey, it is so painful to lose a customer to another brand and try to bring them back. So once the customer is loyal and they're used to consuming your brand, it's okay to sacrifice cash and profitability for some time to maintain that customer in the fold versus trying to bring them back once they have not found you on the shelf. So these are my 2 cents.
Right, thank you. That's really interesting. Let's hear what the rest of the panel have to say. Ahmed, what are your views on this?
Yeah, so on this one, it reminds me of the old days when I used to work for multinationals, and whenever there's a crisis, you will move from the very structured assembly process into a war room situation, right? And for the lack of better words, war room, but it's kind of like that emergency meeting that you would run on a daily basis to make sure that you are adjusting the decisions and the operations to what's happening in the market, right? So yes, outside in a normal scenario, you will have everything cleared out, stock target, clear channel, S&OP process, and all of that. Now you have to revise it daily, right? What do I have in stock? What do I have in the pipeline? Do I need to airflate something? Do I need to pay extra to get the product in the market because I have a gap? What are the top SKUs that is must have in the channels? And how much stock I need to have on those channels? So this is something that it will be different by brand, but what's important is to visit it daily to see where is the emergency, where is the demand picking up, what are the key products I need to get, how can I get to the consumer to make sure that the business is flowing and continuing to be serving the market and the consumer need. And we keep running it till things normalize back again.
Oh, yeah, no, that's good. Thank you. There's some really good points there. Next on to Alex.
I think I completely agree with with both of them, in particular what Mahmoud said about, sacrificing part of your margin to make sure you retain the consumer. I think it's really key in those situations, and this is where we actually really have to make decisions. Usually the business is a bit of a BAU, and I felt like I was making decisions, but not really. This is a moment where you have to be decisive. I was mentioning bets before, but it's along those lines, right? You have to make tough choices, and so I've always, encouraged my teams to plan along 3 scenarios. The first one is like it stops tomorrow, but even if it stops tomorrow, it'll take a couple weeks back to go back to normal. And how do we also prepare for those weeks where everyone has high expectations? However, we know it's going to take a while, both on prices, availability, routes, etc. Second scenario is it stays like this in a bit of a gray area for God knows how long. And then how do we adapt? And this is actually our new normal. It's the easiest scenario, actually. And the third scenario is, it gets worse. And then what do we do as a business? How do we prepare for that? It's really hard to prepare for scenario 1 and scenario 3. So we're full in scenario 2 right now. And the availability for us is crucial. I mean, my team has been diversifying extremely well. I think it's also about coordinating across the different functions internally, getting some more finance facilities, ability to pay more quickly the suppliers, because it's a bit of the first come, first served on the market, especially, fruits and veg, everyone is battling for them. So we've got incredible support from the other functions at Talabat, and it's a lot about being creative, it's a lot about thinking out of the box. And we now have, trucks coming from Turkey through Iraq, Syria, everything, which for me as a European is a bit crazy, but this is a normal here, and people are insanely adaptive to those new challenges. I think also for me internally, the challenge is explaining to my teams and my boss that, we won't have everything every day on the shelf. However, my commitment as quick commerce is that you as a customer will always find something that you want. You want tomatoes, we'll always have tomatoes. There are tomatoes in the country. Maybe we won't have, the super organic, bio, A grade, whatever, but we have tomatoes. Similarly, we have all the essentials. We have detergents. And this bet we've managed to completely abide by it. And I would say so far so good. My question is more, if this goes on, I think we're gonna really see other countries some issues rather in May, because this is when, the 3 months of stock ends for pretty much everyone. And then it's in what do we get? How do we prepare for this? I see April still being okay for us. May is a question mark that, I don't have the answer for.
No, there's some really interesting points there, and it's good to hear your perspective as from a sort of more the retail sale point of view. Thank you. Masri, your thoughts as well?
Yeah, so I will just put the sales angle here, where since there were limitations and I have a 3-day shelf life, GRVs were increasing massively. We just had to focus on the 80% of the business, 20% of the SKUs that get you 80% of the business. So we started making sure, at least, we're, as Mahmoud said, sacrificing on the main business. But again, we just started cutting down on the 20% of the business. That was one of the strategies that we have done.
That's a really good way of doing it, definitely. Right, on to my next question, which is going to be about demand impact. So how will brands adapt in the short term, and then what success looks like for the whole of 2026? So this is more sort of short term, and then the sort of long, sort of mid term, if you like. Let's have a look. Ahmed, would you like to go first?
Sure. So in the long-term macro situation, I think all of us here believe in the region, and we believe that it will emerge stronger than it was before the start of the war. We've seen that through the COVID time, and we've seen that over the last 20 years that we are in this region. So on the longer term, it will recover, right? So now it's all about how do you break it down and how do you tackle the next period. So we're looking now at stability. Hopefully, this is the turning point for things to start to go back to normal. However, for it to go back to normal, it will require maybe around 6 months. This is what we've seen the last time there was disruption in the supply chain, because the whole supply chain network needs to reorganize itself. We want the oil prices to again normalize and go down so that the cost of shipment, cost of goods is normalizing, right? So the demand will pick up, it will recover. It's about now how do we make sure that the companies are recovering for the demand to go back to normal and hopefully increase back to the growth stage that was expected and planned for 2026. And that's where each company needs to do their exercise, right? How can we be more efficient? How can we be agile to get the cooks back in control, whether it's by innovation, looking at different supply point, different supply pricing point, and so on. How do we survive that period till things go back to normal and we go back to the growth? And this is the plan that needs to be set by and each company.
Right, yeah, thank you. That's really a good perspective. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned just before, we're planning for the recovery, and the challenge for us is going to be, all those people who've started shifting even quicker than we anticipated towards quick commerce. How are we going to make sure that we manage to retain them, and which SKUs are they coming for? Now they're coming a bit for everything, but I'm sure that down the line, some people will be happy to go back to brick and mortar for some reasons, while some people's will actually have definitely shifted, and we don't know the extent of this move yet. So I would say as quick commerce, our challenge is to be even faster, attractive. We need to have deals. We need to have perfect on-point promotions. We need to use our data to understand customer wants and needs even more. So I think we will use this as an acceleration for ourselves. We have internal plans to develop even more AI and God knows what. And I think for me, this crisis is really the opportunity to double down on this and go to the next step of the S-curve in what we do and how we operate.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Thank you. That's really interesting. Right, Mahmoud, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so I believe that this is a golden opportunity for local brands that really want to scale and want to be in the next level versus where they are now. Let me tell you why. And it's something that we've experienced throughout the journey of Munchbox. I am a fanatic of localization. This is my love. Uh, and this is a golden opportunity for local brands to do. I'm going to give steps. I'm not going to give concepts. To do the following. One, I would look at my competitors, my imported competitors on the shelf of SKUs that are playing in my category. See which of them have increased prices significantly due to the supply issue or are unavailable on the shelf due to the supply issue. That tells me these are the most vulnerable brands when it comes to supply chain solidity. I would then immediately action a task force in my company to go scout for private label suppliers in the UAE or maybe in Saudi. Of course, UAE would be a better option, and to kickstart the R&D process of how to either replace those SKUs or create better versions of them with local ingredients. We've seen this. We've done it with the breads, for example, and we used to import breads, and then we moved to localization. It's a painful, lengthy, headache-filled process, yes, but the reward in the end is you have better cash flow, you have better supply, you have better freshness, and you dominate the shelf because you have much higher responsive rate than brands that need to import with a 1.5 or 2 month lead time, plus the factory lead time in Europe or wherever you're importing it from. So long story short, this is the time to look into localizing what your competitors are failing to provide or are providing with a price increase because they are vulnerable in that area. The brands that unlock this will A, print money, B, they will start getting attention from authorities and local entities that they did not imagine because they are promoting and improving local food security.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think that's a really valid point. And we have a lot of founders here, I think, on the call today who are homegrown brands. So, this is a good point to listen to here. And I'm sure you can ask more questions about this at the end. Right, finally, and on to Masri.
Yeah, so I would say that very important that your partners should still see you that you are a stable operation company, that we can rely on you in good and bad times. Second, as Mahmoud said, you should start selling more the national relevance, that I'm a local supplier, I'm a local partner, that you can rely on me. And we even started getting requests from regional distributors saying, can you do a private label for me on ice cream? I don't want to rely anymore on partners out of the GCC. Last but not least, I would say in terms of Barakat as a brand, we've already started doing plans that the comeback will be around September, October. If things goes as planned right now, we expect that things will come back to normal. I want normal in terms of people are back in town. I won't say tourists, but people are back in town, back to school. That will be around September to October.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think probably realistically, yes. Thank you. Right, then on to my last question for now, which is when should you be adjusting pack sizes, reformulating, or delaying innovation in this sort of environment? Because I'm sure potentially that this is the sort of challenges you might face. Let's have a look. Mahmoud, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so I already talked about the innovation part. I would look at what's, as I said, what is not being delivered on the shelf, and to fill this gap. These times are, as Ahmed Shamia said, these are times where you need to preserve your cash, you need to preserve your P&L, you need to make sure that you ride this out. And this is not the time for working on the product that will be launched 2 years down the road. So I would take a very opportunistic approach and basically fill in whatever SKU gaps are beginning to appear on the shelf from my competitors. This is not the time for me to go and create a new product that hopefully will be the next big thing. No, this is the time to harness the opportunity that is at hand to fill the gap that my competitor is failing to fill, get that market share, fill as much of those SKUs and flavors on the shelf as my R&D and private label network can provide. And then look, as Ahmed Al-Masri said, in September, October, I start refocusing on my 2 to 3 year R&D and NPD plan.
Yep, no, I think that's very good, solid advice. Let's hear what everyone else has to say. Masri, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so what I would say is that, again, it depends on your nature of the products. We are, as a fresh company, we have faster R&D timelines. We can come up in terms of the product, try it, understand if it failed or no. So, but if it's a product that really requires more quality testing and more lead time, that yes, I agree with Mahmoud that this is something that you don't want to do it right now until you understand where is the demand also is shifting in terms of new opportunities. Then basically around Q3, Q4, you start understanding what are the new trends, and based on it, you start building your next plans.
Yeah, no, I think that's good points. Thank you. Ahmed? Oh, you're on mute, or I can't hear you.
Now it's better.
That's it.
Yeah. So I'm saying that I love what Mahmoud and Ahmed were saying, because it's pretty much rooted in day-to-day operation and market need and market demand in the region. We work with multiple brands, and there is 2 dimensions for it, right? One is the existing portfolio, and one is the innovation, right? So when it comes to the existing portfolio, part of the brand or the products are produced locally, and hence they would require, for example, packaging material coming from China or India or sourced locally. They require some raw material that are sourced from outside. So the immediate innovation is making sure that I continue to produce my core products in the most efficient cost manner, which protects my gross margin and protects my business. This may need kind of re-innovation, redesigning, whether it's the pack size, the material size, redesigning the product to make sure that I'm able to procure the raw material to produce it in time to protect my demand. So there is some innovation that will be done here to make sure that I continue running my portfolio and my key bets. Then when it comes to innovation, launching new brands, I fully agree with Mahmoud here in the sense that it's not the time to launch a product that requires education and it's the next big thing and let me explain to you how it works and so and so. No, there is existing now opportunities where it will materialize for people who are agile, for founders that are smart, are fast, are able to mobilize their machine fast to kind of cater for the existing demand that is now magnified because of the supply chain challenges. So your innovation pipeline should cater for today's market need, right? Which is an opportunity that is more catered for homegrown brands, homegrown founders that are in the region. So look at your innovation pipeline. Does it make sense for what's required today? If yes, great, go ahead, launch it. If it doesn't make sense, then revisit the market, see where is the need, make sure that you're able to cater for it and move fast there.
Yeah, no, I think this is a really good points you made here, particularly about the reformulation, packaging and reformulation. I mean, I remember during COVID, there was I was in the UK at the time, and there was a shortage of certain packaging. You couldn't get it. So then you saw brands repackaging into something else that was available. And it's the same with the reformulation. If you can't get a certain ingredient, you try and reformulate the product. So I've seen that in practice, actually. It's definitely a point. Good, thank you. And then finally, Alex.
So as a online retailer, we don't have much of a say in terms of packaging or formulation. However, I think there is this is definitely the right moment for any local brand, and we've seen it. We've created collections on the app, we've promoted them, and they're working fantastically well. I think people also in the country appreciate to buy locally. It's true for fresh, ultra fresh. It's true for snacks. It's true for anything you can think of. I think it's a made in UAE moment. It started, I would say a couple, like 18 months so back, but now is really the time. I think there is a push, both political, economic, social. So definitely UAE brand, we are big fans. And yeah, I think if back to normal, this is what should stay. I think this is the big change that this crisis brought, that I hope it's going to stay, because this is a lab for innovation. This is a lab for creativity and local investment. And this is definitely something I hope this country will capitalize on in the future.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Thank you. Yes, totally. Right. That's all my questions I've got for now. So I'm going to go to the audience questions. There's quite a lot now. So I'll start with the first one I got, which was, this is a question for Masri. As you'd mentioned, transparency from the very beginning, when things started to get uncertain, what were your first steps, or what would you recommend be the first steps for a business when such uncertain times occur?
So as we said, the first thing is that we started sending daily bulletins at the first 1 week or two to the customers, saying there will be no watermelons for the coming 2-3 days, but this is what we're trying to do. This is when we expect them to come. When do we expect them to come? And this is the alternatives that we're currently working on. So they know that I'm not trying to bluff them, say, yeah, I'll be getting it 1 day or two, just give me some time. We started building trust with the partners by doing so. So first is the transparency step. Second, what was the second question?
Oh, sorry. It was, what would you recommend be the first steps for a business when such uncertain time occurs?
Yeah, so definitely, even when we are taking certain measures in terms of price adjustment, the approach was not, this is not the new price structure, and that let's see when we can come back. It has always been that this is a temporary price adjustment. We're not taking advantage of the current situation to increase prices. No, this is something that we had to do it temporary, and we'll come back to the old prices or the old fair prices, because we believe a lot of logistics cost has been right now going to be a little more sticky in terms of costing, but making sure that I'm not taking advantage of the current situation in the market. Made that clear to the partners.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thank you. I hope that's answered the question. If not, just let us know. Right, next question I've got is from Mabir. So he's put, there's been a significant exodus of immigrants from the UAE in recent weeks. Many will come back, many won't. What shifts do you think will happen because of this? For example, will it be a return to the status quo after a period of time, or will there be a completely new market reality? Some people he's spoken to have been here a long time and said it feels like how Dubai used to be. Is that necessarily a bad thing? So I don't know what everyone's views are on that. Anyone want to answer that?
I would say from my experience, I've been in the country 40 plus years. Since 3 months old, I've been in UAE. Whether the 2008 crisis or the Corona crisis, UAE has always come stronger with more population. So this is something that, yes, it happens because of something that out of the control of the country, but they have always managed to come back stronger.
Yeah, I fully agree in that. I think I haven't been here that long, maybe 20 years, still counts for something.
He's 20 years younger.
Yeah, but I think it remains to be one of the most stable, best lifestyle, more safe places to live in worldwide, right? If not even if not only in the Middle East. And we've seen that like there's many nationalities that stayed and they consider Dubai home, and they managed Corona extremely well, right? I think none of us left during Corona, and there was no shortage of food or medicine or any kind of essential items, and they managed this time of uncertainty extremely well as well. And I think, like any hiccup, it will pass and things will go back to normal and hopefully go back to growth sooner than later. So we remain confident in the outlook as homegrown ventures. That's our stance as well, our vision as well. We continue to strongly believe in the region. We continue to invest in GCC, in UAE, in Saudi, and we continue to drive in that vision.
Great, thank you. Anyone else got anything to add to that?
So I've only been 15 months in the country, so I have obviously no, background whatsoever. I think though that, when the rebound comes, things will be different necessarily. And I've seen, many brands that we work with were geared towards one nationality exclusively. You had one, I don't know, one Polish brand. And if all the Poles have left, what can they do now? So I think it's also the way we'll do business will have to change, because some small businesses will have disappeared. So there will be some space for new businesses. And I'm really eager to see what's going to pop up. I think the lesson for us is you have to diversify your base. You have to be agile, because if one day, one part of your business crumbles, you have to be even stronger on the other parts. And I'm really curious to see from a retail perspective what's going to happen, where those expats that have left, when they're going to come back, and when they're going to come back, where are they going to shop, So I think there's a bit of an unknown. I'm really confident it's going to come back. It's just we'll have to adapt collectively to a new normal as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's some really good points. Matthew, have you got anything to add, or?
I already added.
Oh, sorry.
Mahmoud.
No, sorry. Mahmoud, anything else to add?
No, I think the team covered all the bases on this one, and I fully agree to everything that has been said.
Oh, brilliant, thank you. Right, next questions we've got here. Now, Kareem's got a couple of questions for that. The first one I think we've pretty much covered in this one, so I won't ask that one. The next one is, building on that question, what would be the appetite for innovation, so new brands, new products, and how would this appetite vary across the value chain, so distributor, retailer, or consumer? Will this new reality welcome new consumer offerings? I think we sort of touched on this a bit, but maybe if anyone wants to add anything more to that.
No, I would say at the end of the day, when it comes to growth, it's about always, when it comes to building blocks, either you're expanding your reach or innovating and getting into new categories. So this is something, whether good times or bad times, for you to grow, it's always about the NPDs and what new products are you offering to the consumers.
Yeah, if I may go next. I see a few things emerging, right? One is redesigning or relooking at the portfolio. Is there a better way to innovate to make sure that supply chain is more local and able to get the right product to the consumer at the right price? I think that will happen to break the dependency on the whole now more expensive, unstable supply chain. Second one is in terms of price sensitivity, right? So there is no escape for the coming 6 to 9 months for things to be more expensive because the fuel prices, the logistics, all of that. So some categories will go through the price elasticity, and we may need to bring into the market new price propositions that meets the out-of-pocket for certain consumer segments. So you'll see some innovation in the format, in the formulas, where you have different price ranges coming in. You'll see as well innovation, back to Mahmoud's point, in terms of, hey, there's now gaps in the market, let's fill it with local propositions. And then finally, the whole new trends, new innovations, that will continue to come. I think the region is still hungry for the new innovations, the new brands. That will never stop. It may be delayed a bit for the right timing, but it will continue to flow in.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Anyone else got anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I see that there will be for the brands that choose, because it's more important to choose what not to do in these times than to look at the 5 to 7 things that we want to focus on. So I would advise local brands, as Ahmed said, to choose what not to do now, which is to look at the next big thing. And for the brands that will focus obsessively on localization, there will be a discovery. I'm telling you what happened with us. There will be a wave of discovery of local capabilities that can produce very decent local products that were never tapped into before because there was no need. So I predict over the next 6 to 12 months to see many existing local private label small outfits grow significantly and add to their portfolio many of the big brands that we see on the shelf today that are imported. So to summarize, local manufacturing capability will see a lot of innovation and will see a lot of influx of demand coming into those businesses, and it will force them to look into certain innovative solutions that were not top of mind. For example, one big issue that many of the local manufacturers face is the minimum ordering quantity for plastic packaging or for flexible packaging. That the solution to that is digital printing with much shorter production runs. So instead of you ordering a ton of film, which will last you 2-3 million pieces, you go and find a digital printer. Now, because there was no rush for localization from small businesses, there are no small digital printers here. So this is one industry, for example, that I see will benefit from this situation. Long story short, how do I see innovation helping local private labelers and the industries feeding them?
Wow, that's a really interesting point. I mean, I never even thought of that being here, because obviously when I was in the UK, we had digital printing all the time. I never even realized that. So that's really fascinating, interesting. Alex, you've got anything else to add to that?
No, I think for me, innovation is at the core of this country. When you have a market with 12 million people and 200 nationalities, you have to innovate all the time to win the market. And I don't think this is going to disappear anytime soon. I'm shocking to meet every week, suppliers with new ideas and new products. This is a bit the spirit of this market. So it's just going to be amplified, I guess, and bringing the production and the supply chain even more local is definitely the trend that we expect to see.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Thank you. Right, I'm going to go on to the next question we've got here from Sama. What are the categories that are suffering the most and an opportunist can take advantage of? Who wants concrete examples? Anyone want to offer something up on this one?
I can go. I can tell you.
Sorry, I was about to say I'm actually giving a special request for Alex to answer this one because she has.
Oh, right, well, there we are. I think Alex is best to answer this one.
Of what's being sold where, yeah.
So I would say we have what we call the A, B, and C lines that I mentioned. The A lines are the fast moving for which we need stocks every day. And in those fast movings, the ones that is hit at the moment, and I don't want to create a panic buying in the audience, I think broccoli and cauliflower are two SKUs that are hard to find. They rely on imports, and obviously imports is tricky those days, even if we manage. So for Teamwhite right now, broccoli and cauliflower is a hard one. Joke aside, fresh, ultra fresh is something that is tricky because of the short shelf life. So we have containers a bit everywhere. And of course, the more they wait on the sea, the less time we will have to sell them when we can offload them. In addition to this, we had a big rain episode in the country the last couple of weeks, and this has washed away some of the locally grown fruits and veg. You know, cucumbers is a hard thing to grow when it's raining that much. So I think the fruit and vegetable situation is a tricky one because it's highly fluctuating. However, again, suppliers have massively diversified their routes. The question for us is, as I said, down the line, come May, come June, the situation is still the same. What we were used to buy in high quantity is going to be scarce, and then people are going to buy more of the previous B and C lines. So if I stick to the fruit and veg example, potatoes are going to be something that we expect to grow in demand if we someday lack of, you know, fresher stuff. The good news with potatoes is that the country produces massively potatoes, so we're not going to be short of them, but it's a day-to-day situation. The only SKUs are really broccoli and cauliflower, where my team is telling me every day, this is hard, this is hard. However, you have so many types of fruit and veg still available on the market and grown locally that honestly, it's not an out of stock situation. And I think, you know, for me, when I watch the French news, for instance, it looks like the country is, you know, under siege and struggling, but just going to the supermarkets, we are not worried. As a distributor, we are not worried. I think that's a key message.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else got anything to add to that? No. I'm just checking if I've got any more questions then. Let's have a look. Right, it doesn't look like I've got any more. Anyone got any more questions? Either you can write it in the chat or you can come on live and ask the question to them. Anyone? Or if anyone, even on the panel, has got any more thoughts or wants to do a consolidation of thinking, like a summary of their top tips. So.
Yeah, maybe let me go ahead with the summary of my key thoughts. During uncertain time and instability, especially when we talk about homegrown brands, companies, SMEs, a few things to keep in mind. One, you have to be agile, right? So you have to refigure your go-to-market, your portfolio, your product launch to fit the current situation. So you have to be agile. Don't get fixated on whatever you planned a few months back. You have to revise things to what today it needs. And then second point, which is, I think I mentioned it a few times already. I'll mention it one more time. Look at your P&L, look at your cash flow. That's your lifeline. It's super important, even though it's kind of like a bit dry exercise, but it's important to plan ahead of time so that you don't hit a month where suddenly you feel you're running out of cash and it's very hard to navigate and move around. So those are my 2 cents, just to make sure that I recap it.
Great, thank you. I think 2 very important points there. Anyone else on the panel want to add their sort of summary top tips or from this call today?
From my side, I would say that thank your people who are on the ground, because for the past 4 weeks, it has been tough for them. We had around 300 trucks leaving the facility around 11 p.m., coming back around 12 p.m., and supporting them, and at least emotionally, and recognizing their efforts during these times is crucial thing that we have to do.
Completely agree. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Mahmoud or Ali, anything, closing thoughts?
No, I think the people, obviously, we forgot them, but truly, I think, Talabat Mart is a bit more than 1,000 people on the ground, 24/7, plus the riders, and we deliver essentially any time of the day. So that's part of this, country effort, that everything is still available, and those people have the hardest job on the ground. But I would say in terms of tips for brands or for companies, to me, is go back to the core. Go back to your true USP, to your true value proposition, and double down on this, because this will not disappear overnight, and trim down the unessentials. I think, in any business, we tend to have, adjacents that we love to explore. I think it's not the time for adjacents. I think it's time to really solidify what you know best and keep this safe for the future.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Thank you. Yeah, and the teams on the ground, like you say, the Talabat drivers and everything, and all the others are doing an amazing job at the moment. So thank you. Mohammed, have you got anything final to say?
Yeah, I fully agree with Alex and the team. I see that this is a golden opportunity window for local brands that want to take advantage of this. The fact that the strong, established, imported European and American and Turkish and international brands that are dominating the market. The vast majority of the brands are imported here, unfortunately. This could be an inflection point for the local brands to really step up and take share. So one of them is, I'm going to promote one of your businesses, Ahmed. One of them is Play, for example. They're continuously launching new SKUs. They launched chocolate bars, which are doing fantastically well and are actually eating from the share of some of the imported brands. Now, doing this is a multi-month effort. So I strongly advise the local brands to start now to produce decent, I don't want to say superior to the imported ones, because that is quite a high order, to produce decent local versions of what's imported. And once you're on the shelf and the consumer starts using you, then there's no stopping you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, no, I've seen the Play brand everywhere. It's amazing what they're doing. Yes. Right, I've got one further question that's come from the audience here. So from Mafia, for anyone who hasn't got an established brand on the market here at the moment, who's considering to launch like a completely new startup. Sorry, the question just jumped when I was reading. Is now a good time to start and launch, or should they hold off until the market volatility stabilizes? Ahmed, maybe I'll ask you that one first.
Sure. It's very hard to answer without knowing what's the brand, what's the category, because it will make a big difference in terms of, are you setting a local shop for that? Are you importing from outside? But I would definitely recommend you do your value chain analysis, right? If the value chain is highly hit, then your starting base is much higher than what the market usually would take, which will impact your whole business plan and business idea. So I think now, as we speak, it was positive week, right? So we had some positive news. It's a pivotal point for how the recovery will go and how things will move fast. It's worthwhile waiting this couple of weeks to make sure that it's going to be stable. And based on that, then yes, you can start looking at your plans and your go-to-market and where does it fit in the current market situation.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else got anything to add to that? Any tips for like anyone wanting to start and launch something new as a new startup now? No.
Well, I would advise these new startups to start planting broccoli and cauliflower.
I think today it's also a flag day, so anyone wants to launch a super fast flags production, they can probably do it. I think for me, the cool ones are going to be the super opportunistic ones, and exactly to the funny point about cauliflower and broccoli, I think this is where true innovation comes. There will be people who will have amazing ideas in the coming days based on what they have experienced, on how they have experienced the past couple of weeks, and this is what's exciting. This is where true innovation will come. And I have no idea, I'm not an innovator myself, but I'm sure that people will have fantastic ideas. And as soon as they've gone through Ahmad for maturation, I'm happy to onboard them on Teamwork and scale them even further.
Thank you. That's great. A very encouraging team here, you see. Great, thank you. So I think that's all of our questions now, and we're nearly at the end. I think I just want to say a big thank you to the panelists here. So Mahmoud, Ahmed Shamia, Ahmed El Masri, and Alix for all their insights and knowledge sharing today. I've learned quite a lot myself, and I'm sure everyone else has. I just want to hand over to Jamal now, who's just going to go through, let's just wrap up and talk about some other events we have going on.
That's right. Thank you, Sasha. And thank you to the panel and also the audience for your engagement. That was a really, really interesting and lively session. We're just gonna just mention a few community announcements because this series is ongoing. It's the third in the series. We have two more this month, one on agri-food security which was touched upon today, of course, and another one also which is more focused on the Saudi market. But yes, big thanks to our panelists. I'm just pasting all of their details in the chat now, so you can connect with them. All those links you see take you directly to their LinkedIn. And now we're just moving on to the upcoming events. Also, big to say thank you to the event partners as well. Obviously, most of the event partners have sent their people, but also in addition to Talabat, Barakat, Connect, Scale Ups, and Hubware Ventures, thanks to our other associated partners, Mirage AI for the branding, Food Hack Dubai, Foodpreneurs Collective, and Pitch Lounge team. In terms of the upcoming events, we've got two pitch events this month still remaining. One of which is the feedback guidance format that we run, the Foodpreneurs Collective and the Foodpreneurs Collective are feedback format events, which help very early stage startups who are capital raising or preparing for an investment raise to get ready for private meetings or competitions or expo stages or whatever it might be, or live streamed events that we do. One of those live stream events is actually at the end of the month, which is the Food and Beverage Pitch Lounge on the 29th. Which will be live streaming like today, but also our Drinkpreneurs Collective event is next week on Thursday. So very welcome to accept anyone, any founders you know between pre-seed, or if you are one in the audience between pre-seed and even that Series C presenting with us over a number of rounds. Come check out. If you're unsure, you can apply with your pitch deck at pitchlounge.net/startups. And that would be great to see you. We've also got a lot of past recording linked on our YouTube channel, which I'll paste in a second. But there's our LinkedIn company page where you'll find all the events coming up. The two further webinars were on screen a bit earlier, both the agri-food edition and the Saudi edition, which is going to be a KSA Kingdom and Saudi Arabia market entry webinar, are now in the chat in terms of placeholders in your diary. They will be listed over the next few days. Looking forward to hosting some of you again and having such another fantastic panel of experts to share their wisdom. And there's also the option to subscribe. They're the webinars. The option to engage with our community various ways. We've got a very active mailing list of about 25,000. We've got about 6,000 across our social media groups, LinkedIn and WhatsApp being the main places. And if you want to join Sasha's very lively and supportive, particularly in this current climate, WhatsApp group, you can find that it's UAE Foodpreneurs social media, UAE Foodpreneurs Collective on WhatsApp group, and it has about 700 plus members, but also there are subgroups as well for different countries in the Gulf and also different verticals. So check out pitchlounge.net/community and you'll find the link to join her WhatsApp group. We are live streaming today. If you came in late, you can catch that on YouTube and catch up on today's event, but also the other two in the series and our other investment demo events if you're interested in learning about the pitching startups that pitch with us. We've also got that newsletter I mentioned, which goes out about once every 1-2 weeks. You can join that to keep track of the events that we have. Next, please. Yeah, so I've already mentioned pitching with us a bit earlier. So yeah, if you want to pitch with us, that's the website, pitchlounge.net/startups. We've also got a few other like specific partnerships that we have, like one with PepsiCo, etc. So there are other streams or the links on our website, but this is the catch-all form. So you can always apply there, and then we can refer you to the different events that we host and partner on. Next, oh yeah, panelists. We're always open to more panelists, and including on this webinar series. So if you're, it's not just this webinar series; it's also in-person expos that we're programming in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE, in Europe, in the UK as well. So if you're interested in being a panelist on one of our events, one of these formats or pitch event, then you can apply via our website, pitchlounge.net/panelists, and we'll reach out to you with a number of dates. For example, we've got a health, food as medicine, longevity set of events planned in the next month or two in relation to the Milan and Vatican Longevity Summit. So that's one set of panels that we're looking to build in the next week. So reach out to us to feel about that, but also anything to do with drinks, beverage, ag tech, food science. There are special areas, but also we are opening up in climate, sustainability, impact materials, and so on. Next, please. If you want to sponsor, that would be really helpful. You can carry on doing these with a bit more certainty, these webinars and other events that we do, not just in terms of you wanting to give back to the community and make sure that we're providing this kind of support, medium, but also in terms of the exposure we can give your company through our mailing list, through our very active LinkedIn presence, through the reputation we have in the community. So if you want to partner on any of our events, please reach out. You can email me at expo@pitchlounge.net or Jamal@pitchlounge.net. We can have that conversation. Next, please. Yeah, we are welcoming donations for today's event. Sorry to ask, but it's one of those things that is helpful in enabling us to do it as often as 2-3 times a month. Even if we can have some support to make it once a month, it's still helpful. Thank you to the 4 or 5 that donated. Just even 5-10 euros each is really, really helpful. It makes us feel that, yeah, this is needed, this is wanted, and we can carry on paying our back end team, our interns, and that's very helpful. Some of you might have noticed the donation link, some of you might have not seen it, but also some of you might have got the Zoom link directly. So they're the links again. You can donate at any time. They're fixed amounts, 5 to 30 euros. Again, if you want to partner, just reach out to me separately. Next, please. And that brings us to the end of the event. Really fantastic timing. Fantastic moderation. Thank you, Sasha. And a really, really wonderful flow of the event. And I'm glad that we've made these webinars an hour and a half. It's a much more comfortable length than the initial 1-hour edition we did. Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Hope you come back next time.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.